Welcome back to the Heart and Mind of Business. This week, we are going to be talking about lessons that we have learned. So join us for today's episode. Hi, I'm Clara Rose, and we are back once again for the Heart and Mind of Business. So if you were with us last week, we were talking about the entrepreneurial adventure or journey. And we wanted to share some this week with you about some of the lessons that we have learned in our entrepreneurial adventure and journey along the way, haven't we?
Yes, lots of things. So we're going to read from the book and just a bit of story. So I'm excited to share one because for me, I'm talking about actually, I don't know which way it is. The fifth way. So, which is about prosperity. Now, at one point in my career, I was a chartered management accountant. So money was quite an important thing. It was like everything I was always doing. And I didn't know at that point the difference between money and wealth. So I'd like to read from you, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Inspired prosperity. So it says, many people believe that money is tied to wealth, except it isn't really. When we talk about money and wealth, we are talking about two different things. Money is a commodity which we use to barter for goods and services. It is a tool which we can use. Yet for many people, is it a tool which rules their lives? Do you know, apparently 9 out of 10 people work just for the money. Yes, we need money to live, but do you think this is the only reason that we should work? How about working with a focus of creating peace, harmony, and with the ability to creatively express yourself? So if money is a commodity, what is wealth? Well, aren't they one and the same thing? The answer is no, they're not. Wealth is different because it is a mindset. So then I go on to talk about a couple of really good stories. One is the first one where there was a story of a guy that went on an adventure on a motorbike, and he went to these different countries looking for people's kindness to help him do his journey. So he had no money on him, and he was looking for people to fill up gas in his tank, to give him meals, a bed for the night. And there was one stop that he did, and he saw this guy and he said, "Oh, do you think you might give me a bed for the night?" And the guy said to him, "I haven't got a bed. I'm homeless. I'm sleeping over there." And he pointed to this little place outside a shop. And the guy was blown away, the traveller. So this homeless guy said, "Look, come and stay." So he took the traveller over. He gave him a sleeping bag to sleep in. He shared his food with him. He said, "Look, if you need some other clothes, you can make use of some of these." And he had a few coins, and he gave the traveller some money. And the traveller was so blown away with this, and this guy's generosity for someone who had nothing. He gave him this huge gift to help him get back into school, to help him get back on his feet again, into creating more of the life he wanted, because obviously he didn't want to be homeless. And what that really demonstrated was how wonderfully the fact that monetary wise he had so little, yet he felt so abundant that he could share. And then there's this, at the other end of the scale, there's this moral tale where this couple had millions of pounds, and they lived in this fantastic house, and to hoard all their money and to keep it safe, they had this big vault that they had built. And every so often they would just go and check that everything was okay, because they were really afraid of losing it. And then one day they heard that there were these thieves in the neighborhood. So they both ventured down to check on this vault, afraid that they'd open it up to find that, someone else had been there before and everything had gone. And when they got there, they were so relieved to find that everything was still there. And they looked around, and it was this big walk-in vault. And as they turned to leave, the door swung shut on them and trapped them in. And they never got out alive again. Now, I'm guessing that's just a moral tale, but they had so much money, and yet they had this poverty consciousness because they were afraid of losing what they had. They weren't able to share. They weren't able to use it for good. They were just in this place of fear, which was so different to that homeless guy. And I think there's a bit on here that says, when we live from a place of feeling prosperous, we invoke the laws of giving and receiving. Yet when we live from a place of poverty consciousness, we cut off our supply. And for me, that was a huge, big learning that money is completely different to feeling prosperous, and that we could get that feeling of prosperity without it being the same as money in the bank, and learning to appreciate and feel grateful for what we have, sharing, trusting that more will come along, and not spiritually bankrupting yourself because all you're doing is going after the money. So for me, that was a wonderful lesson.
That is a wonderful lesson, something that you don't necessarily think about, the difference between prosperity and wealth. So I've always known that I love to write. In fact, when I was 11, I took some notebook paper and bound it together with some yarn to make a book. I was going to be an author and fill the world with my stories. When I was 13, I ghost wrote a children's book, just one episode, and I was hooked on the idea of being a writer and an author. What I didn't realize, of course, was that the life of an author is very solitary. It is countless hours at a keyboard, multiple script revisions, and sending out query letters, trying to get a publisher to take your project. It is full of rejection. I had no way of knowing at such a young age that the vision in my head was nothing like the reality of being an author. I was sure I would be an author at some point, but as it sometimes does, life took me in a different direction. Probably because I'm an extrovert and very social. I discovered a love of helping others succeed in business and have built a career around a consulting practice that does just that. Yes, I'm a published author and I continue to write. However, much of my time is spent helping my clients craft their message. Together we write their marketing content, their vision and mission statement, articles to help them gain exposure, and even their own book to generate leads for their business. Can you see how these two paths look very different in the day-to-day tasks? I can't imagine being happy or fulfilled as a writer and an author. I love the personal connections that I have with my clients. It's so satisfying when my clients have successes, and I am proud like a parent when we get their article or book published. It wasn't intentional for me, but I created a business that was perfect for me. I truly love what I do. It happened the hard way, the long way around, and over the years as my business grew and changed. Save yourself some time and design it around your passion from the start. I invite you to be intentional. And that is a lesson that I learned, something I never imagined, but the importance of being intentional about what you want your business to look like and your day-to-day activities to actually be, so that you do create a business that you love, that you're passionate about. So that was my big lesson and takeaway. Be intentional. And I still use it to this day.
And I love that fact that you're living your truth, that you weren't doing something, that your intentions changed over the years. The fact that you started off with that little bound book that you created. And funny enough, I did something similar when I was that age. Yeah. And that you knew that was something that was going to be part of your life, but it wasn't going to be all of your life, and that you allowed in a greater expression of who you are. And good for you for following what feels right and living your truth.
I definitely did it the hard way. See, I could have used you to say, Clara, you need to allow it to change and just be, right? You allow it to be who you really are. So I had to do it the hard way. But we have a resource to help people not do it the hard way, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? Life is about learning. There is something all of us learns. For me, at one point in my life, I felt like I was going after the money. That was the expectation. You get a good job because it, that type of job, or because it pays well. And when it pays well, it makes you happier. Well, I can tell you that's not the case. Paying well is lovely. You get extra things, but actually dragging yourself into an office day after day, when you really don't want to be in there, the money is really not worth it at all. But following your passion, doing what you love, creating something where your own rules come into play is just joyous. So I would invite you to think about what your intention is today. What do you want to learn? What have you learned from the past, and how would you like to change going forward?
Yes, so there you are. Today we've shared lessons that we learned, and we would love to hear from you. Pop into the comments below and share lessons that you've learned so far in your adventure or journey as an entrepreneur, or maybe some things that you're hoping to learn. We'd still love to hear from you. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and of course sign up for notifications so it lets you know when we're about to go live. And we will see you next Wednesday on this next episode of The Heart and Mind of Business. We'll see you next time.
Have a wonderful week.